You will be presented to, you do not have to present. So that's the great news. I'm glad you're here, so it gives us a quorum. We will officially start momentarily. Okay, thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the Committee of the Whole for Monday, May 22nd, 2023. It is being held in the council chambers, and Councilor Norris is on Zoom. So if we get, Clerk Bakura, if we could get a roll call.
Present, we have Mayor Hedrick, Deputy Mayor Depot, Councilor Sheffield, Councilor Piazza, Councilor Norris via Zoom, and Finance Director Uhas.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to go into new business or referrals. I want to start with D, with the FYE 2023 suspense list for approval, so we can get the Finance Director Uhas out of here. So Ron, I'll let you go with that.
This is just the annual request to move taxes over to the suspense list. As in Melissa's letter that was on the top of the actual suspense list with all the bills, she kind of goes through and talks about it, how these bills are just no longer going to actively be billed. However, they are still a liability to the taxes, so they're still owed. They do submit the list to DMV, so people will not be able to register vehicles. A lot of them, if you look at when you go into the detail, it'll always be personal property or motor vehicles, and motor vehicle being the bigger one. Personal property would be if a business they're no longer in business, and that they'll put those on the suspense list. And then, like I said, mostly the motor vehicle, and you'll see that they have the reasons why, and most of them is, the mail's being returned or they moved out of state and those types of things. But the taxes are still due. However, they just move them to that suspense list, and if they can collect them, they will. But it's just that they stop actively billing them because they haven't had luck.
Okay. Any questions or comments for the Finance Director, Councilor Piazza?
Thank you, Mayor. It's just a comment, maybe on the whole. I just was wondering what was actually the use of us receiving everybody's name and their address. I just didn't find that we as councils really needed that.
It's just the entire packet that comes over from the town, which
Yeah.
gives you the detail of what makes up of that. Because if just on the cover letter, it has the $8,605.98, and that just gives you the backup of all of the bills that are being transferred.
And I understand, I appreciate the information. I just thought, because I didn't personally go through the numbers to make sure the number was exactly right. But, I feel like if we receive these two pieces of paper, and if we really wanted to get the list, we could. Number one, it saves paper. Number two, I just think about, think about all the hip stuff I go through and stuff, and just to have addresses and people's names, I don't know.
Okay.
So I just thought maybe we could eliminate that.
Well, it's public information. It is information. So here's the challenge that I have as the mayor, is what information do I give you and what information do I not give you? So I'd rather overfeed you and give you more information than what you need than have to move and wait something because you don't have enough information. So that, I am always going to default to that. We do send all this information electronically as well as right now paper, but at some point I'd like to get out of paper and go to electronic, but we're not there yet.
So that may be something that we can move down the road, that we could receive that electronically, and if we wanted to print it out ourselves or ask for it to be printed out, we could do that?
Well,
In the future?
you get your packets every week electronically.
Right, well, but that's why I'm saying, and not receive the paper at all, not receive this piece at all.
All you
So,
gotta do,
I mean-
is tell me you don't want paper anymore and I'll just send it to you electronically, like the deputy.
Okay. That's it.
Okay, with that, I'll take a motion to move this to mayor and council meeting of June. I'm sorry, Councilor Norris, I didn't realize you had a comment, I didn't see a hand. Councilor Norris, you have the floor.
I apologize for that. Just, do we know what our collection rate is at all?
I can get the actual collection rate for you. Usually it's around 99%, if not higher, depending on if they collect previous pieces that have been transferred over to the suspense and prior stuff. But I can get that for you as far as the collection rate, but it's usually right in the high 90s.
Oh, no, that's good enough, just giving me that information, that's plenty, thank you very much.
Okay, did I get a motion in a second? Okay, so, all right, you're right. So let's do this. I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of June 5th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion on this line item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Okay, we will go, so, thank you, Ron. All right, we'll go to Groton Utilities, customer service billing. We'll talk about that first. Tina, if you could come up and you can take Ron's microphone. So there were questions, I think it was at the last meeting, about being able to see bills and going into bills and things like that. So I talked to Tina about it, and I asked her to come and brief the council, because Tina is the general manager of customer service. So go right ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. So what basically transpired was roughly about 3 years ago, our customer portal became end of life, which was part of our customer information system, which was called eCare. At that time, we evaluated how many customers actually created user accounts, and it was actually going into the portal and going in and looking at their information, and it was less than 1% of the total amount of people that were actually accessing and paying their bills online. So at that point, we made a decision to not continue to offer the online bill pay or the usage until we could find another avenue for us to be able to present it. We are in the process of looking at a couple different avenues, and we have been for the past probably year plus. One of the things that's the biggest issue is it's the cost of every time we go and we look at a process, it's an additional $50,000, $60,000 in order for us to add a module onto our information system. We are, not this year, 23, 24, but 24, 25, we are going to be putting into the budget to upgrade our customer information system and going to a cloud-based system, hopefully. At that time, that will absolutely give us the ability to do present of the bill copies and PDF and give usage history. If there is anybody that ever wants a copy of a bill or user history, we absolutely, the customer service will absolutely print a copy and your usage history and send it to you in email. Currently, we have roughly about maybe 10 or 15 customers a month that actually contact us and ask us for it, and we provide it right away.
Any other questions or comments for Tina regarding customer service, Deputy Mayor Depot?
Just really a comment, because I think, and I don't think this was you that said this, but I think a few times it has been mentioned that we lost the capability, and not that we didn't realize it, but that we couldn't fix it at the time, but we were looking into it. Not that we made the choice to let it go. So that to me is a little frustrating. I understand if only 1% of your customers are looking into it, but how many customers do we have?
Currently, right now, we currently have roughly about 16,000 between water and electric and sewer. In this portal, you can only see electric. You cannot see water and sewer. It's only electric, because our water reads are not electronic where we can produce them on a usage report out on a portal.
Okay. So I understand that's not a ton of people. I didn't know that we could send them via email, so that's no problem. If people want an email copy of their bill, they can contact and you'll email that out. So included in that budget for 24, 25, are we looking to remedy that where everything will be available, or still no because the water and sewer is a different system?
Water and to be honest, going on the cloud with the new customer service, they have just started offering it out to customers on a beta test. So actually, we have a conference call tomorrow, with our vendor to kind of talk through, the cost, for us to be able to go to cloud. What are we going to gain as far as the additional modules? We also are going to have a conversation to see if there's any standalone product that we could have to be able to give a customer a copy of the bill and the usage. I don't know if that's available at this time without spending money that you don't need to spend, because when you go cloud, you pick it up. So you don't want to go through a whole process of adding these modules, and then we turn around and we go cloud-based, or we update our customer information system, and then we got to completely redo it again because it's not compatible. So that, I do have a conference call with the vendor tomorrow, which I'm surely hoping they're going to have a way that we should be able to provide additional either bill copy or usage of some sort. So if customers do want to view it through a portal at 10 o'clock at night, they have the ability to do it. But we just need to make sure it's feasible and it's the smart move for us to do it at the time.
Have we looked into the cost savings? Because right now, can you go paperless with your bills?
No, we cannot. No.
Would it save us money for customers to go paperless?
Fundamentally, I would like to say yeah or yes, but I'm not sure how many people would actually go paperless. I don't.
I mean, if we provided a way for them to view their bill online, they might go paperless.
Yeah,
I personally would go paper. I don't even open my paper, honestly. I know when the bill comes in, the text comes and tells me how much the auto pay is going to be, and I look at that, and I look at that number, and if that number is within the normal range that I usually get, I don't even open the bill. If it's some wild number, then I open my bill. That might be something to look into, is whether we could do a marketing push, because everyone's going paperless. I just opened a new bank account, no paper. Like, no one wants paper. So whether we could at least offset some of the cost of that by introducing paperless billing, if that would save us some money. Again, I'm not sure if it would necessarily, or at what threshold it would save us money, but it is a little frustrating as a customer that our system moved backwards in time, that we had this available and then we went forward in system, but backwards in, product usability. So it is a little frustrating, but I understand what you're saying. I think even though it may have 3 years ago been a small amount, I would bet if you did a survey, that number would be much bigger now, because in the last 3 years, so much more stuff has gone online, paperless. That ease of use, really click this link to see your bill, like with banks and everything. So I really think that we should push for that to happen and to move forward with that. And, before we make any decision, make sure that we're, making, not trickle in better and better decisions, but before we make another move, make sure that we're analyzing all of the angles, because I personally used that all the time, the ability to check my bill, to look at the physical bill online. And I know Councilor Piazza had mentioned it too. And I know we're not the only ones. So, so it's definitely something that I plan on, along as I did with the auto pay, pestering the utility about. But and honestly, auto pay is amazing, and I love it so much. And I'm so happy that we have it, because it makes paying my bill easier. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Councilor Piazza?
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, so when we pulled it back, because I know when I first started and I couldn't access it when I called, they said, oh, it was being worked on, and that's basically for about a year and a half, it was being worked on. But you said about 3 years ago, the decision was made. What did that do for us financially in not allowing access? Did that? save anything financially?
It didn't save, the only thing it saved us was on the maintenance contract for Harris North Star, which is our customer information provider. So it saved us on the annual maintenance. Where the issue became was that their product, which was e-care, became end of life.
Anything else?
Yeah, I just want to ask, was there a notice sent out that the customers were not going to be able to access? I might have missed it. I can't say I never received it, but I was just wondering, was there a notice? Because I know, I was like, oh, she'd say, well, we're working on it. I said, well, about how long? Well, I really can't say, maybe about a month or two. So I'd wait a couple months or more. And then it was the same answer. So was there a notice to send out?
I would sure like to say yes, but I don't know. I can look into that. I know we've done like bill notices, like at the bottom of the bill and some of this other stuff, but I cannot remember, sorry. But I can look into it and see. Yeah, absolutely.
So in the future, if somebody was, some people I know, like, when they're going to get an apartment or rent or so forth and so on, they usually want to see 3 months of payment of electric, blah, 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 blah. Some people still do it the old-fashioned way. Some have you sign a waiver that they can access it. But so if somebody said, hey, I need 3 months of the bill, they can just call you and you can send it to the email, or you could actually paper it to their mailing address.
As far
correct?
as the account holder?
Yes.
Absolutely. We'll provide the account holder any information that they need.
Okay.
And we have customers calling all the time and we'll ask for an average bill, if they're moving in, and we'll absolutely give an average estimate without sending any 3 months of bills or stuff. But yeah, absolutely. We send we'll send bills out, we'll send usage, we can, send it through an email. If you need the usage, it's downloaded into an Excel spreadsheet and, we send it over and.
Yeah. It'd be great. I just think moving forward, like Deputy Mayor Depot said, is that we could actually do ourselves, print it out. It would save you time from us calling.
I am so hoping that tomorrow is a good outcome. We have a couple different avenues that we can go, and hopefully one of them will work. Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay. Counselor Norris?
Thank you. Thinking about my parents who are now in their early 80s, they take a tremendous amount of pride opening mail. So there is that segment of our population that still either enjoys opening mail or does not check email at all. However, I would say our customers are getting smarter every year and they're seeking more information. So I'm glad that you're moving forward in a system that can give more information and they can find it themselves. If you can explain to me though the system that you're talking about, so would that be operated by a different company somewhere, or is it really Groton Utilities in-house but web-based?
So a couple of different avenues that we're looking at. Obviously, any software, any module that we actually look at, they are compatible with our North Star customer information system. Makes it a lot easier because if they're partners, it's just so much easier. They understand how North Star works. So one of the avenues is looking at a separate, their new portal system, which is called Silverblaze, that would provide the usage. You would be able to PDF a bill. You would be able to go and do auto pay and do it all in one portal. We also are looking at our payment system that we use is Paymentus, which they're also a preferred provider of North Star, is finding a way that we might be able to push that information to them. So at least a customer would be able to see their usage and be able to PDF a bill down from there. So we have a couple of different options. It just kind of becomes where what's feasible if we're going to go through a big transition in our customer information system and going to a more robust, newer, better, flashier North Star, that what makes sense for us and when to do that. Obviously, I want to be able to show customers history and be able to get a customer a PDF because it makes it easier for everybody, makes it easier for my staff, and all actuality, it should save money because you're not, you're not slapping that, putting that 60-cent stamp on every single envelope that you send out. So every one that we don't send out and we can PDF, that saves us money.
Well, thank you for the information. I don't know, I guess a request is, as you go through the planning stages and you lay out your 5-year forecast, would it be possible to include personnel into that? Because I'm assuming with web-based service, I don't know what that means for Groton Utilities Technology Department, Billing Department, Customer Service. So I don't know if that's an increase in personnel, a freeze in personnel, or possibly a reduction.
Well, as far as the IT department, I mean, absolutely, but that would fall into General Manager Blanchett's wheelhouse. But I can tell you, every time that we've brought in new technology and everybody has said, oh, this will save time and this is going to help us reduce staff, no, it does not. It always ends up that all you're doing is shifting the work from one department to another department, where it might not be a customer service, but we might have to build up our billing department because the more stuff the billing area is doing to get the bills out, versus part of it was sitting in the customer service. So I would be extremely surprised that it would increase staff, but absolutely, I would not see it reducing. It would just shifting staff from one department to the other and how the tasks are handled.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Sheffield?
Yes, as far as the vendor that, you may decide to use, will there be a cost, let's say if we accept a certain service? I mean, we may save going paperless for the consumer and not having to put a stamp on an envelope for a bill, but will we incur cost for a particular service, that makes us go paperless, with any particular vendor? Will the consumer take a hit on that end of things just for the technology?
So what happens is I mean, we would stay, currently, we have no plan of leaving our current customer information system. We would like to be able to get on the newest and the greatest or modules and everything that they're using. And so what the cost is going to increase is the maintenance cost is going to increase. It is what, I mean, that's where you're going to pay is on the maintenance side. Will PDF and bills and not mailing them out offset the maintenance? I don't know. It's kind of like we had our doors shut for COVID for almost 2 years, and we were sitting there going, I don't think I have to have a front counter anymore because customers are so used to not walking in. We literally are back up to almost the same amount of foot traffic in our office as we were pre-COVID. So it's just every time something changes, you think, oh, okay, we're going to be able to kind of shift, and it doesn't happen because people could want PDFs, but they're still going to want the bills in their hands. It's, yeah.
And still a lot of people, choose not to use internet.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
Working that Stop and Shop, people will not download digital coupons.
Yep.
Make it easier for them,
Yep.
but they just won't
They just
use
don't,
that
yep,
technology.
that's
So,
absolutely correct. That's why we have people who still walk in and pay cash or pay
Yeah.
by check. They will not, so.
okay.
Any other questions or comments on this? Okay, this was informing, so no action, and that's it. Thank you, Tina.
You're welcome. Have a good evening, everybody.
Okay, we're gonna continue on. We're gonna talk about wastewater removal by H.I. Stone and Son.
Every so often, this time 3 years, we bid the removal of wastewater. So in the wastewater plant, you actually skim off the top, a solid, and you empty from the bottom of the tanks are solid. That gets dewatered and shipped out, fairly dewatered. So this is a 3-year bid for the company that is going to do that. We only had one bid. This business is very tough, and there's not a lot of providers. We asked everybody that we've used in the last 5 years and others that have been through and even contacted you if they would submit bids, and this is the only bid we received. It is about a 30% increase from current years, just like the water treatment chemicals for the filtration plant. There's been very high increases due to the cost of diesel, transportation, and everything else. This material is removed and it's actually incinerated in the Mattabasset MDC incinerator.
And Councilor Sheffield?
So we're not sure why we only had just one bid, if there was, I mean, is this now the sole provider of this service in the area, or did we?
We used to use another provider, and the material that we're sending off, they do testing on, and what they were doing with it, it fell out of specs to be able to do that. So they actually come in and they take tests on what you're sending out, and depending on the makeup, some people don't want to deal with it. And there's not a lot of incinerators around anymore. So this material does need to be incinerated.
Deputy Mayor Depot?
So is this the same company that we used last, or are
Yes.
currently using?
Yes, they've been a good service provider for the past 3 years.
So we've used them for 3 years, and you contacted, so we used a different person 4 years ago, a different company,
Yes,
and that company was no longer willing to offer a bid.
they couldn't provide the service after performing the test on the material.
Okay.
And the same with the other vendor that it actually has recently contacted everybody.
Thank you.
Councilor Sheffield?
And this is a 3-year?
Yes.
Okay, so now, will we need to, after 3 years, again, go through the same process?
We
or-
will bid it out again.
Okay.
And actually, in the middle, Joe Pratt looks at other vendors, and he looks to see if the options will open to be able to bring it other places. We do that routinely, but the bid is a 3-year because it helps with pricing and to stabilize budgets, because they give us a fixed increase moving forward.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of June 5th, 2023.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Springbrook Financial.
The next one is an annual that we bring every year. It's written down as a sole source, and based on a discussion before the meeting, it actually could be called an IT preferred vendor, because it's for Springbrook. Just like Tina was just talking about the Harris Customer Information System, this is Springbrook. All the city's books are on it, as well as Bosra's and GU's. So this is a little bit different than the annual. The annual was approximately, call it 75,000. The annual cost of this is closer to 105,000, because this is actually also paying for the cost of moving to the cloud, doing the final upgrade to Springbrook, and bringing us to the modern platform. So there's a price breakdown to what that is. It also contains a 10% contingency in case there's project issues as we move the database.
Any other questions or comments on Springbrook? Deputy Mayor Depot.
So this is just for 1 year, and what was the rate last year?
It's about 75.
So, so the annual cost went up more than 25%?
That's also right, because you have to pay for the cloud hosting. It takes all the data off of our servers, moves it to the cloud. Several years ago, Tina alluded to it, we had Erin Kitt come in and do an analysis on all the software that we're using. And one of the first steps was to evaluate our Springbrook system to see if we were going to sit and continue with this financial software package. The other one was to evaluate our customer information system and make sure that we're going to stick with that with that package. It was also to apply a computer-based maintenance management system, which we've been moving forward with Springbrook. So we've been executing what was part of her workflow analysis in technology upgrading. So the very first thing we're doing is we're clouding Springbrook, and then in the next, but we have to do this first, and then we'll be clouding the customer information system and moving to the modern packages.
Right, but you're saying that there's two separate parts of this. There's the annual fee, but
Yes.
then we're paying a fee for a move of data.
Right.
What is the rate change of that regular annual fee?
About 75 to 105.
Oh, so that is that annual
Yes.
cost. So the fixed
Yes.
fee professional services cost, that's the cost to move.
Right.
The
That
data.
won't repeat next year.
It just seems like such a big jump for an annual maintenance fee for a computer program. What was the increase last year?
It was about 10%.
And did they give you a reason for why it's jumping so much this year over last year? It's unlike the last one's reasonable. Gas is crazy expensive. Diesel's
Well-
expensive. It makes sense that that service for transporting, the wastewater sludge, that makes sense to me that that's going to increase a lot because of the way the world is increasing in particular. This seems a little bit crazy to me that it would increase this much this year.
The difference is moving to the cloud to host it. So when you move your data to the cloud, it's actually backed up in 3 different locations across the US, and you're seamlessly integrated into that. And if there's an issue in one part of the US, they move to one of the other 2 databases. And it's actually all backed up there. And when you access the data, you're not going into our server database in the server room.
But I thought that was the fixed fee professional services cost, moving the data.
Moving the data is a fixed fee. Keeping the data and taking care of it moves from IT to other.
And were we not doing that at all before?
No, we're all on-prem.
Okay, so the additional annual cost is because we are now paying for additional services
Right.
on an annual basis. So annually, we can expect that the cost is going to be this higher amount now going forward.
Yes.
Is it going to increase like that every year?
Most things increase of usually at least 5%, but
Right, but as you said, last year was 10%, this is more than 25%, so.
right. That's because we're using their computer servers to do the hosting. You'll be able to go through on the web and actually access the data externally to here. Even to the point where, if, let's say, our building internet went down, you could go over to operations and log in from over there, and you'd be accessing the cloud seamlessly.
Okay.
Counselor Norris?
If I can ask that question a different way, if you don't mind. So if we would not move into a cloud-based process, what do you think the annual or this increase would be?
It would probably have gone up 5 to 10%.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
It would have gone up 5 to 10%.
Okay, got it, thank you. Right, so currently, the software system we have, is that on all Groton utility computers, or is it one particular department or two?
I would say the entire, all city employees do have the capability to access it.
Got it. So one last question, and I apologize if you don't know this answer. So currently, if there's an upgrade to the system, is it that they send us an email with a patch and we have to download it compared to the web-based system?
Yes, that's the difference between moving to the cloud. And the cloud will be continually upgraded day to day to day. Currently, we get an update, and then at some point, we do an upgrade to the server that's running it, and then roll that out to everybody. And our updates tend to be more sporadic, and they also take a fairly high amount of personnel effort to complete.
All right, thank you very much.
Any other questions on this line item? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of June 5th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Second, motion is second. Are there any additional comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Okay, we're going to move on. Parks and Rec. There's two bench requests. One is for Irma Streeter at Griswold Point. And then the second one is for Roland and Marceline St. Louis, two of them in Washington Park. And we do have space available in those locations for those two. And they have requested them, and they've been approved by Beach and Parks and by the Parks and Rec Department. Any questions or comments? Councilor Piazza.
Where exactly is Griswold Point?
So if you go down to the beach, and then if you're coming up Shore Drive towards Norwich, you know where that little beach area is, and then that other green park that's on the water side, that's Griswold.
Oh, okay, okay. It's a nice area.
It is. And there are currently benches there. And so we're out of space in our current configuration at the beach. We're looking at other configurations on the beach, but some of the water views aren't as pretty as where we are now. But we are looking at that, but we're offering Griswold Point, and there are other people that like to be in Washington Park. So, any other questions or comments? Okay, I'll take a motion to move the Irma Streeter Memorial Bench to the mayor and council meeting of June 5th, 2023.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Are there any additional comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. And I'll take a motion to remove the Roland and Marceline St. Louis Memorial Bench to Washington Park, two benches to Washington
moved.
Park.
Oop.
We'll move for the mayor and council of March 5th, 2023.
June 5th?
What's that?
Do you mean June 5th?
What did I say?
March.
Oh, sorry. I don't know where that come from. Sorry. We can't go back in time. June, I did write 6. June 5th, 2023. Yes, I did mean that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. So we said, okay, any additional comments? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. I have no idea where that come from. All right, economic development.
She went to go get some.
Opposite direction.
Okay, the first thing we'll talk about is the POCD update. This is reporting only, so there's no action here.
So good evening, everyone. So along with the plan of conservation and development, I just wanted to add a timeline that kind of helps put into perspective where we are and where we're going. Do you mind passing that around to, or handing it to her? I'm sorry. So from the handout that I had sent you guys previously, that looks something like this. You'll notice a number of action items or tasks highlighted in a kind of gold color. And so I just wanted to go through a couple of these with you guys so you can see kind of what we're looking at and how this starts to tie into some of the projects that we're working on. So in the first section for strengthen and enhance Thames Street, it says continue to plan for Thames Street area in order to promote the desired outcomes. We started this work with the Thames Street Promenade Report, and also then followed up with the Visioning Thames Street placemaking, and then that is leading into more implementation, placemaking improvements, as well as the Thames View Park planning. You also will notice that it says consider using tax increment financing district as a way to pay for public investment on Thames Street, which will spur the appropriate private development. We had approved the joint city and town tax increment financing district back in 2019. Seek ways to simplify traffic circulation on Thames Street and deter truck traffic, except for local deliveries. It says work with property owners to enhance the Five Corner area, and also consider tax increment financing in that neighborhood. Use placemaking strategies as a way to project a memorable image of the city to others and help attract new residents, businesses, customers, and visitors. You also have promote community events and activities that contribute to the overall sense of place in the city. That promotion of events, I must highlight, I really do like our newsletter and the fact that it goes out, and the more community highlights that we're adding to that and getting that information out to people. This is pretty long and extensive, so I actually won't read through everything, but the gold things highlight what we're working on, how it relates to some of the projects. I don't know if you guys have specific questions from what you guys have reviewed. Leslie and I will also be here tomorrow night for an open house, which will give you guys plenty of time to kind of talk through this information. We also invite the community to come out and talk with us as well, and then we can start to kind of piece the puzzle together, because I know sometimes we bring up projects and it's layered on top of other initiatives, and sometimes it is kind of hard to kind of grasp and wrap your minds around everything that some of our projects touch and that we're working on. But are there any specific questions to some of the highlighted items in the plan?
Yes, any? Councilor Piazza?
I don't per se have questions. I just made some notes. I did look through the whole package, and I just want to basically say, like, you guys are, like, amazing. And just all this work, just to outline it and all these plans is, like, very exciting, I think, for Groton City. But I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart, all the work that you put into this. I really do. And I am planning on coming to the meeting.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Deputy Mayor Depot?
Well, just to piggyback on that, I think, some of the work that happens in planning and economic development, people aren't really aware of because a lot of it's behind the scenes. I do really like this little graphic thing because it's brief, but it really helps like tie the things together. Something like this might be cool to put on our website, or like, it's hard. I think every little thing that we do maybe pulls a couple more people in to absorb in the information, and, just getting people to see what we're doing, how we're moving forward, and hopefully involve more of the community, because some people have great ideas that we never get to hear because they don't know when or who to give them to. So I just want to encourage any residents that are interested in conservation, resiliency, all of those things to contact, our planning or economic development department and see how you can get involved, because there are many ways to get involved, from, a few minutes at a seminar to joining a committee. So it doesn't always have to be a big commitment, but I think that community input is really valuable when we can get it. So thank you.
You're welcome. And if you are free tomorrow from 5 to 7, We will be here in council chambers, available for anybody to discuss the projects. The graphic.
Hold on.
Oops.
Counselor Norris, did you have your hand up? Did you have a comment?
I did, but I just lowered it.
Okay, never mind, please continue.
For the template, the timeline for the plan of conservation and development, I did just want to note, this is a document that we have to update every 10 years. So I did put in here that in 2028, we do have to start planning and budgeting for that update. Also, you will start to notice that Leslie and I are periodically throughout these next couple years going to work with the Planning and Zoning Commission to make updates to that plan, so we at least can track our progress of where we're at. So when that 10-year mark comes up, we're kind of already, on a good foundation to move forward. So that is that. For the community resiliency plan information, I had sent you guys section 4 of that plan. It is all of the recommendations that were highlighted from the consultants from SLR and all the feedback that we got from all the community engagement that we did leading for the creation of this plan. I did just want to bring to your attention, we are in the process of still reviewing these recommendations with internal staff, with organizations like Circa, the Nature Conservancy, and anybody else who's doing some type of resiliency or engineering coastal work to see who we can collaborate with. A lot of these initiatives are going to take a lot of hands in the process, so we want to start to identify who those people are, and our next steps are going to be a capacity building kind of workshop and understanding where we get to bring in those outside expertise or professions or volunteers who are interested in resiliency work to come and work with us and staff to start to understand some of the challenges and create some really good designs and opportunities. Leslie and I recently just went to a resiliency design charrette, workshop kind of charrette thing with Circa down at Yukon Avery Point, and they were highlighting, we were getting tasked with different initiatives like stormwater management. There's a municipality in Portland, Connecticut, and these are their challenges, and what are some ways that we can start to work through some solutions, and having municipal staff, state reps from Connecticut Deep, Circa, or just the host of other people in the room to brainstorm. We were coming up with some really good ideas, so to be able to have that really focused on the city of Groton, I think would be really beneficial for us, and excited to move that forward. So with the recommendations themselves, some things I did just want to highlight was recommendation 4.1.1. The first one says to conduct a stormwater hydraulic study of the Five Corners area. We have been working with the Nature Conservancy and Public Works on a joint application to the Long Island Future Fund. We did recently submit it for the Nature Conservancy to kind of take on the role of administering the grant, getting the consultant, and managing the project, and then staff feeding into that with our support to make sure the plan and everything addresses the needs that we have here in the city. So this kind of goes back to that capacity. How can we strategically use our City of Groton staff's expertise and combine it with consultants and these organizations to actually get some of these things accomplished, and that is one really good example. Another recommendation I wanted to point out is in section 4.1.5, and it's actually on page 4-41, and it is the second action item down, to pursue the installation of rain gardens. Before, we're aware that Public Works has had a rain garden project that they've been working, seeking to move forward here at the City Municipal Building, and I have a grant proposal that we're moving forward, but that is kind of what we're doing, highlighting what recommendations are in here, what are ongoing projects or previous projects that we had like desire to do and need to move forward, and what are some new projects that we need to identify. In section 4.3.1, on page 4-49, you will notice the first two action items are related to business continuity planning. So in light of, we just went through COVID, so that's one thing of emergency planning and getting prepared for that. Then being a coastal community surrounded by water on three sides brings in a whole nother resilience component to planning for natural disasters or different things like that. So we want to work with the business community to kind of get better prepared for those events. And so we are partnering with Sector to do some of that work. And you also may remember that the Women's Business Development Council, within their proposal for their pitch for ARPA funding, would be to include a resilience component of understanding what is business continuity planning and what do they need to keep in mind as they move forward and grow here. That one. Oh, and I just wanted to highlight on page 4-53, as we kind of keep shopping around this recommendation list and the plan and discussing things with individuals, living shoreline seems to be a consistent concept that comes up. And again, we are surrounded by water on three sides. So as we do this capacity building and as we kind of go into a design workshop, I definitely think there will be some type of living shoreline component where we assess our coastal shorelines and see, do we want to do eelgrass restoration over by the Shore Avenue wall kind of leading up into Eastern Point Beach? Do we want to reevaluate Birch Plain Creek and try to make it so it's not like an impaired water body where you can't do shell fishing, like what actually needs to be done to restore that water body and shed? And I know the Baker Cove watershed is kind of working on initiatives, so this starts to tie in all those partners and identify what the city can do to actually help to move some of this things forward. I did want to highlight, I guess, on page 4-58, like I was saying, that this is going to be a collaborative process for us to actually address resiliency here in the city of Groton. And so as we do this capacity building and in this outreach, we're trying to identify individuals who can be on our coastal vulnerability working group, who in the long term would kind of continue this discussion and keep us all abreast and move projects forward. Also, we are engaging the youth, so I'm really excited to be partnering with the town of Groton and the Marine Science Magnet High School. We're actually going to be hosting a youth listening summit this Thursday at Eastern Point Beach with the high school students, just to kind of get a general idea of kind of what resiliency means to them and how do they then want to apply that to their communities. That is the recommendations.
Just add one thing. Just want to add one thing, talking about different partners and how things may inform other things that we're doing that may not be obvious. And one of the things, one example of that is we know that we have flooding issues down, particularly at the intersection of Thames and Smith and Pequannock at that Eastern Point Road, at that intersection. And we know that a lot of that sheet flow is coming from, it's not just coming from the stormwater pipes, but it's also coming as sheet flow over ground, because so much of that area is paved and not pervious. The water doesn't sink in. And I was out at a engineering site visit last week for the project, the application that's before P&Z at 120 West Street. And one of the things that if you didn't know to look for it, you wouldn't probably see it, notice it, or think about it. But the crest that sort of divides what goes down to where the flooding occurs and what goes away from it is actually just before you hit that property. It's right at the end of West Street. And that made a huge difference in how we looked at the engineering of water and, sun and, wind direction and things like that. So these things do in ways that, unless you're looking for them or know to look for them, it's kind of fun when they happen and you realize, oh, okay, the grass goes this way. We don't have to worry about this part of it. There's, check that one off the list. So I just want to say these things do work in tandem, and it's really important that we pull together our partners and people who are potential partners to work with all of us on this.
So, and now I want to move, unless there were any questions in regards to all that we just, okay.
Counselor Piazza?
Thank you. When you're talking about pervious surfaces, I know I read it somewhere in your packet. And where were those, what's the plan on that for pervious? Just kind of remind me, you don't have to go into detail about it. Was it like,
It's mentioned in there, so we have to kind of still do an evaluation of how we want to address it. I know we're going to look at zoning regulations to see what we require for new development, but we also want to look at city-owned property and see, are
Right.
there ways to do some reduction in a way that's like feasible and makes sense for the use of that space. So that's kind of mentioned in here to do further assessment of that.
I just think about when I was a young girl living in city of Groton, and some of the parking lots that were there were mostly stone and dirt. Then it was paving, and of course, a lot of people still had gardens then. It was either on the back side of it, or whatever, but I mean, I think a lot of these parking lots and non-pervious is definitely donated to it, but so I like the plan of attacking that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else on resiliency? Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to the grant.
To the rain garden, yeah.
To the last item, yes.
All right, so, rain garden. So we applied for the Connecticut Urban Green and Community Garden Initiative to actually install the rain gardens here at the Municipal building. We were awarded that funding for about 17,500 from Connecticut Deep to pay for the materials and actual installation of the rain gardens. Public Works is planning on doing this implementation, and we are going to provide funding for a design, engineering designs that Public Works can use to do that. So I wanted to present to you guys the proposal that we wrote for that grant. Also, there's 2 letters of the award acceptance, one from Governor Lamont, the other from the Connecticut Deep, and then there is a resolution to accept the award from them.
Question or comments on that, Counselor Piazza?
Thank you. So approximately when would this start and possibly end? And
I do not have a finite draft schedule of that. We are trying to secure consultant services from our on-call person or consultants for the design. And I think once we kind of get past that, then we'll have a better general idea of when we can install and all that information. And we still have to kind of go through a process to accept the award and get under contract. So once we do the contract and then the design, we'll be able to give a better estimation of when the project will start and how long it will take.
I really, I like the whole idea. I like everything about nature. So, but I mean, I'd really like to see the community be involved and somehow like advertise this, the start of it, or how maybe we could even get out, maybe contact a person for the Groton Times when we get it and have something about that in there. Okay. So people do get that paper. So it'd be something to, because I think even as a citizen of Groton, is to me, when I was reading about it, I was like, well, you know, I have a pretty large yard, and I was thinking, like, what is it more I can do in order to do this? You know, people might start thinking that, or maybe you could do a proposal. This too, you can also do even on a such and such and such a portion if you want, and then the people can contact you. But maybe something in Groton Times as it goes down to get people thinking,
About it.
you know, so forth. You know, citizens of City of Groton, they might want to be involved or do it themselves on their properties.
We definitely want this to trigger people to be interested to do it themselves. It will
Yes.
have panels and different things to kind of educate on that, but I think I like what you say, like leading up to it, to continue to do that engagement. And I will say the Baker Cove Watershed, we call them BACWAC because I always forget the acronym, but they have been doing some great webinars and different things on rain gardens, pollinator paths, different things to add, soil, landscaping. So maybe we can just work with them to make sure that's shared with the community.
Yeah, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, to lead up to it. They recently did one on alternatives to landscaping, and it was really, really, really good.
Do they do that on a regular basis, or?
They do a series of programming, whether right now they're doing a lot of Zoom, but they have done in the past. They did a whole workshop of rain garden installations down at the Elks Lodge last year, because they helped with an installation there.
So how would somebody in City of Groton that's interested, or anybody, be able to,
Get in contact with the BACWAC.
yeah?
Yeah, I will add that to the newsletter, but I know Maura Roby is kind of works and leads that, so I will reach out to her and make sure we get the right contact information and
Okay.
include it in the newsletter.
So on those things, so there was one at the Lytton Avenue Apartments, there was one to Avery Cobb Museum, and then they did a riparian buffer at the Elks. And they had a lot of volunteers at the riparian buffer. They had a lot of electric boat people there. And then they had reached out to other people. So one of the things that I'd requested is to get it out on Facebook and get it to us, so we can put it on our website for future efforts so we can get awareness locally.
And I think for the people who still like to handle paper, I think the Groton Times is really, I know a lot of people that do read that. I mean, you know, something in paper too, you know, just every which way we can do it, Facebook, internet, everything.
Definitely will do.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Norris, you have the floor.
This is awesome, well done, I applaud the both of you for following this through, awesome. But I think you may have already answered my question in terms of future maintenance, if that would be done by volunteers, public works, or the parks guys.
Depending upon whose property it's on, whoever owns the property is whoever is who is responsible for maintaining it. So if it's city property, we're responsible for maintaining it, and that would be done likely through both, maybe a combination or sort of a dividing of the responsibilities between Parks and Rec and Public Works. And in the case of the ones that the mayor mentioned that are not publicly owned, for instance, Avery Cop House, they're responsible for maintaining and, you know, cleaning them out and you know, replanting when necessary. They should be fairly, rain gardens when they're done well are fairly self-sustaining, but that's a longer answer than probably you were looking for.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this? Okay, with that, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of June 5th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Okay, I need a motion. There's two things that I want to add that came up since this came out on Friday. I'd like to get a motion to add a proclamation for National Public Works Week and a resolution for the Connecticut Department of Transportation Master Municipal Agreement for preliminary engineering projects.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. All right, so first of all, let me do so we're done. So thank you. Sorry.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
So this is from the Office of the Mayor, City of Groton, Connecticut proclamation, National Public Works Week, May 21st through the 27th, 2023, connecting the world through public works. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the City of Groton. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the City of Groton to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2023 marks the 63rd Annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association / Canadian Public Works Association, be it now resolved that I, Keith Hedrick, Mayor of the City of Groton, do hereby designate the week, May 21st through the 27th, 2023, as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public work professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Groton, Connecticut to be affixed this 22nd day of May 2023, signed Keith Hedrick, Mayor, City of Groton. So that's the proclamation. Did everybody get a copy of the resolution for I think I passed that. Did you not get that?
Yeah, with DOT?
Yeah. Did I not hand it out to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's dated May 4th, but we didn't get it for about a week after that. This is to enter in it's a master municipal agreement for preliminary engineering projects, and it's for 10 years. And basically what this does is it allows us to fast track projects. So we'd signed one about 10 years ago for construction projects, and that's one of the ways that the Pequannock Road got fast tracked. So this is for engineering and design. Right now, I'm bringing it to you, and I'm gonna ask you to move it to the mayor and council of June 5th, but they want it signed before June 1st. We've called them and asked for an extension. If they give us an extension, then we will execute on June 5th. But if not, then I may have a special meeting next week. Let me look at this. Next week, probably on the 30th or 31st. That's Tuesday or Wednesday. So that's the urgency, and that's why I wanted to give this to you. This is the cover letter. You were talking about paper. The actual agreement is 70 pages long, so I told Sue not to print that out for everybody here. So that's what this is about. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Okay, I hate to make you explain more, but can you quickly, using the Pequannock Road as an example, maybe, give an example of how that went under this agreement and how it would have changed without this agreement? What is the practical and logistical difference?
Okay, the practical logistical difference in any case, and where something's gonna be fast-tracked, it's not pre-approved, but what it does is it gets moved up in the review process, whereas the review process for the Pequannock Road would have taken another year or more. We were able to get it done fairly quickly in order to get it approved for the actual, for the construction. Now, this is for engineering and design, and we have to have engineering and design projects in order to do construction projects, and that's what this was before.
So is this essentially just an agreement that we are going to use engineering and design that conforms to the terms and whatever of this agreement, so that
Right.
they're not having to review with a fine-tooth comb our engineering because we have signed an agreement that we agree to do it this way? Is that
Right.
what it is?
Because, yes, because what this says here is the 10-year term MMAP covers municipally administered design projects. The MMAP includes standard terms, conditions, and contracting boilerplate language, so that means there's a consistency all the way. All of our design and engineering projects will be the same. They're all templated the same. And should govern all municipal design projects involving the department which are undertaken through the 10-year term. So there'll be a standardization, and then that will give them an assurance that we're meeting those expectations, and it'll be easier for them to review, because we'll be using their boilerplate.
Okay. that
They're
makes
gonna
sense.
issue us a template.
So before they came up with this idea, they were having to go through with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that every project
Right.
fit their ramifications or whatever.
Because a lot of the projects that we would do that would be state projects would be grant driven. And each grant tends to have different requirements as far as whether there's American steel required, or whether it is a prevailing wage contract, all those kind of things that are in there. But again, that's for construction. This is for the engineering and design.
So this isn't having any effect on like the vendor, which vendor we pick, the time. It only has to do with approval by the state for projects.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Counselor Norris?
Mayor, I just wanted to say this is an awesome idea. As we all know, so many times, the faster we can get design and engineering done on projects, the better. We can put on the shelf work that's ready for grant funding when it appears. So again, I applaud the team for working on this. It's outstanding.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right, I'll take a motion to move this to the mayor and council meeting of June 5th, 2023.
So moved.
Oh, second?
Okay, all right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Okay, so we have two executive sessions tonight. The way we're gonna do this is we come out of this, we go into executive session, we come out of executive session, then we go back into executive session. Counselor Norris, what I'm gonna do in your case is I'm gonna take you off Zoom, and we're gonna call you. That way I can ensure that Zoom's not gonna get hacked and our executive session is pure. And then the group that's, I'm bringing you guys first, because you'll be quicker. So, does everybody understand that? All right? In that case, I'll take a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 1-206A to discuss personnel, police department, to include Chief Jenkins, Captain Lito, Sergeant Winkleman, and the council.
So move.
We have a motion and a second. We are in executive session. So, do you guys, Ron, do you wanna go to my office? You guys wanna hang out there, or what do you wanna do? You can if you want. Or do you want, all right, fine.
We need a quorum for this, right?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to call Paul.
Well, he was asking if he's needed.
Well, there's no action gonna come out of either one of these. Oh, you gotta have a quorum in order to have a meeting.
Right.
So the answer is yes. So I'm getting ready to call him on his cell.
Yep.